I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wrenches in my top drawer of my Snap-on box. Alright, so I got my friend Angry McNerdy Face here. He is an expert on towing things. This was a story that I saw on thedrive.com. This was a broken Ram 3500 dually, and it looked like they put a camper on the back of this thing, and the title of the story is Broken Ram 3500 dually shows a camper can still overload a big truck. And these people have a $1,700 repair job.
17,000.
Oh, $17,000 repair job. That's bad.
Bent the frame. Yeah.
Yeah, so they bent the frame. I was telling you, I saw some people in the comments, and they said that they had zoomed in on some of the pictures, and it looked like the frame had actually cracked, but it was right near where they had tried to weld this camper. There's some braces or something. They welded it to the frame. I remember in class in college one time, our materials teacher was teaching us that when you weld, that high heat changes the microstructure of the steel.
Yeah, that certainly could have weakened the frame at that point, but I mean, you also got to look at just the payload capacity of that truck is not really all that great. Those trucks are meant to tow heavy, not have heavy payloads. And you couple that with the fact that it's got the diesel engine. That's not a light engine. It's about 1,000 pounds heavier than the 6.4 liter gasser. Payload of that truck's really not right home about. You know, just the dry weight of that camper that he put on there likely already exceeds the payload capacity of that particular configuration of truck, given the fact that it is the diesel. Look, man, those campers are typically you typically go with those when you're going dry camping.
Well,
You know, I've been in and out of a lot of campgrounds, and not every campground allows you to, you know, camp there with that style of camper. So you typically have those when you're going dry camping. So it probably had probably, I don't know, 40 or 50 gallons of water in it, plus all his gear, equipment. So I think he definitely surpassed the payload capacity of the truck for sure.
well, if you just look at it, right, it looked like it's changing the center of gravity to the camper is hanging off of the back of the
stupid.
pickup truck.
Yeah, so it's acting as a lever.
Yeah.
And that also looks like a short bed.
Yeah,
That's
that's a crew cab.
Yeah, it's a crew cab with
With
a
a
shorter
short
bed.
bed.
It doesn't have the 8-foot bed.
So yeah, that's just a bad idea from the beginning.
Yeah, that's just stupid. Look, those trucks are meant to tow heavy. They're not meant to have this infinitely high freaking payload. I mean, and it's very different when you're towing heavy, right? Because your trailer has the brake, you know, your trailer is performing the braking, and it's kind of like, depending on how your gain is set up. I know when I tow with my trailer, I set my gain a little high.
Mm-hmm.
And when I brake with my trailer is basically pulling my truck back.
Oh yeah.
You know, because my trailer is braking a little. Just I bias it slightly so that my trailer is slowing down a little bit faster than my truck. But I also tow within 60% of my tow capacity. You know, I like to keep it as safe as I can.
Yeah, that's good.
And I also don't drive like an idiot. You know, I'm not saying that this guy did that, but when I see other people tow, or when I see them, you know, hauling stuff like that, they're not always driving sanely. You know, I'm not saying that he used it that way, but it looks to me like maybe he had a hard braking event.
It looks to me like that just putting this giant monstrosity on this pickup truck is changing the center of gravity.
For sure, yeah, dude.
And
I mean,
and
look,
by welding, when you weld stuff to the bottom of the frame, it creates what's called a heat affected zone near the weld.
Weakens it. Yeah.
Well,
makes it more brittle.
Exactly what they were telling us in class. I remember in materials class, this is an engineer that used to work at GM was teaching a class. He was saying that the steel it could be one of three ways, or it could be like, I forget the exact pronunciation, but it's like ferrite, perlite, and martensite type of steel. And when you heat it up, real hot, it adds little dots of carbon.
Yeah.
The molecules form into more clusters of carbon, which makes the steel more brittle.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you think of steel, like if you think of the steel in like a razor, it's really it's sharp, but it's really brittle.
Mm-hmm.
So when you heat up something like that, the area around it will be really brittle. And I think that's what happened when they welded these braces to the frame. So
Yeah, I mean, I
it's
don't know
not
much.
just the weight, but it's the fact that they welded something
Well,
to
it
the frame.
certainly had to have some effect. I mean, I don't know much about metallurgy. I don't know how those are attached. I don't know why he has to do some sort of welding. I thought they had brackets that went underneath and clamped like U-bolts, you know, that clamped onto the frame. But
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody in the comments said that they saw a picture
yeah,
of it and it looked
yeah.
like they had welded something to the
I
frame.
mean, that thing is just goofy. That is just stupid.
It looks
Buy a
ridiculous.
camper. What are you doing? Buy a freaking camper and tow the bastard.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, whatever floats your boat.
I don't know.
That thing is just so stupid.
I
And it
just,
looks like maybe and just judging by the dry weight of that thing was like 5,500 pounds dry.
yeah,
Dude,
it's way too
you
much
need a
weight.
mid-range truck for that. You need like, you know, a bigger, like a 45 or 5,500 series truck for that. Like that, dude, I wouldn't be towing that with anything less than a 2 ton,
Yeah,
or hauling that with anything less than it. That's just ridiculous.
well,
And by then, dude, you're talking about pretty serious truck. You can tow just about any, you know, just kind of standard consumer grade camper with that dual. I mean, gee, man, you can tow a lot of trailer with that. Well, what are you doing with a silly camper? It's just so goofy to me.
yeah. So he should have just towed instead of
Yeah,
attaching it to the freaking
those,
frame
in
and
my
destroying it.
opinion, man, those trucks are meant for towing heavy. They're not meant to have this massive payload. They're not invincible.
I
That's the case for any 3/4 or 1 ton truck. I mean, they're meant for towing. I
I
mean,
don't know.
you
I
get a
think
higher payload with the gasser because it's less weight in the front end, right? It's just, you know,
yeah.
you're not hauling around as much weight.
I think they should probably make some type of video to explain
I'd
all
like
these
to know.
things to people when they
Yeah,
buy these trucks because they get
yeah.
the truck, they feel like they're invincible and the warranty will cover everything, but you know, nobody reads those.
I mean, dude,
Yeah.
I just finished driving across this entire country. We drove through 19 states. We spent time in about 30 different campgrounds in 19 states. About 6,500 miles round trip in my camper.
Oh,
And I saw everything that you can see on the American road, on the American highway. Like, and granted, that's just like one big trip. Like, that's not even like it's not like I'm a trucker. You know, those guys are seeing this kind of crap day in and day out. But just the way people drive, it gives you a moment of pause.
yeah.
It's just my God.
All right.
Every day, every hour of every day, I've seen some goofy stuff like this. People
Well,
driving 85 miles an hour with this kind of setup.
oh my God.
It's like, what are you doing? It,
Oh well. Well,
I'm not saying he did that. I don't know all the details on this, but when I see that, I'm just thinking gross weight overload.
yeah. And
That doesn't just happen.
I don't think
And a
Ram,
lot of people out there are probably like, "Oh, Ram sucks, Dodge sucks, blah 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 blah."
yeah,
All the
that's if
fanboys.
you saw that in
Oh
the
yeah,
comments,
dude.
that's
Yeah,
what they'd
all the
say in the
fanboys. Yeah, yeah.
comments.
They can shut the hell up and let the adults speak.
Yeah.
Look, Ford, Chevy, great trucks. All right, this
Yeah.
could happen to any truck when you overload it.
Yeah.
It's a game of dice. You're rolling the dice, and who knows how long he's been driving it that way.
Well, just looking from it, it looks like agree with Ram not covering it, the warranty, despite the bad publicity, because people, I think that they don't understand how that they should hook up things like this, or if they should hook up things. It looked like I would never weld anything to the frame. You creating you're making the steel in that area more brittle, and it's gonna crack. But anyway,
Yeah, especially if you're most likely speeding, driving way too fast for, you know, for your load, and likely not giving yourself enough room to stop. It looks to me like he had a hard stopping event. Man, when I'm trailering or hauling heavy, I'm given plenty of room. I get it. Sometimes things happen. People cut you off on the highway and then they brake heavy. I've seen that happen a few times. That's an often humbling experience. But I also tow and haul well within the means of my equipment
yeah,
for that reason, and that's what
that's
any sane person should do.
that's the takeaway we're having here today, people. Be more careful with hooking up campers like this. And if you have a question, I would go to the dealership and ask specifically if this is all right with putting it on your truck before you get a $17,000 repair bill. All right. Well, anyway, thanks for tuning in, everybody, and have a good one.